about IoT exploitation part 2. And although it says it is about IoT exploitation, but I think the last session, I don't know how many of you guys attended the last session. Was there anybody from here who attended the last session, IoT exploitation part 1 by Bharat? Yeah. So we basically dealt with a lot of theoretical stuff over there, looking at what exactly is IoT, how can you plug into the different embedded devices to see what it is functioning, how is it functioning, or how can you debug a particular embedded device through its UART port and things like those, right? Today we are going to take it a little one small step further. So not really IoT exploitation, but we'll try to see how we can play around with an embedded device and not really find a bug in it or exploit it, but just try to explore it to see how we can get started with it. Okay. So the primary goal of this session, of this particular talk, is to make everybody comfortable with, at least familiar with how it gets started. How you set up an Ubuntu system from scratch to start analyzing your firmwares. And we are basically talking about, so there are different types of IoT devices that could be there. What we are going to focus on is a router. And why a router? Because one, of course, it is an easy target because there are a lot of routers that are out there. And second, it becomes, if you should just do a shodan search for routers that have known vulnerabilities, you'll find many of them. So it makes sense to get started with something that you can easily get your hands at and get started with, right? So initially we'll try discussing some of the theoretical stuff, basically around the router firmware itself. For example, what exactly is a firmware? What are the contents generally of a router firmware? And what are the different technologies that they use? We'll not get into a lot of details of those because each of those topics in itself is a full-blown topic. We'll just try touching on those. And in the end of it, I have a small demo, which I won't really be doing the demo, but I have a video of the whole demo that I did, so that you know what is going on, and we'll go through the demo itself pretty slowly. The video slow enough to see what is going on, right? And after this, we hopefully get to understand that if we are able to understand things over here, we may be able to go on to a little more advanced stuff like making your own, patching your own firmware, taking your own router, taking your own maybe your set-top box and trying to extract the firmware from there and try to play around with those things. Or maybe if you've heard of DVRF, which is the damn vulnerable router firmware, play around with that and things like those. Okay, so what exactly is a firmware? It's any piece of software which actually makes your embedded system functional. That's what you call as a firmware. You could draw a very vague analogy between a firmware and an operating system. And I know a lot of people might not agree to this. An operating system is a completely different thing, of course. But then, in a certain sense, if it's a piece of software which actually drives your hardware, right? And more importantly, the thing is that a firmware is always burned onto the EPROM or the PROM chip of the device itself by the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer. But again, there's another interesting thing that these firmwares are made to be upgradable because of obvious reasons of performance and security and etc. 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 But it's not as easy as upgrading a particular firmware like it might be upgrading your any other software application which resides in the user land or your OS itself for that matter, right? Now, what does the firmware basically do? It does a lot of things like most of it is analogous again to the OS, and that's why I do the analogy. Like it may be responsible for booting up the hardware itself. And to boot a hardware, you need to get the OS which is there on the device, which is there on your storage to your RAM or your functional memory, right? It has a lot of system software that itself implements the whole of the network protocol stack, or maybe implementing other device drivers also, for example, if there be a need. And at times it might run a mini web server. So if you guys have ever logged into your router, you might see a login page, and then you get into your router interface where you are able to configure your router. So it's all because of the mini web server that is run inside the firmware, right? So our end goal will basically be to try and see if we can reach to the classic /var/www directory inside the firmware and see if we can get access to the web pages being served. These are some of the references that you might find very interesting. At least I found them interesting. There are discussions around what is the difference between a firmware and an operating system. Why doesn't Intel produce ARM kind of architecture, and things around those. What is really the difference between a device driver and a firmware? So you might just want to take a look at these things, and there are other stuff as well. Yes. So yeah, we already discussed why would we want to take. Okay, why is it that routers really are more vulnerable comparatively as compared to the other applications? So as long as we're talking of a user land application, it is still more probable to believe that the customers would always just do a next, and they will at some point of time, if they are enough aware, I will say, they will be able to upgrade their application and have the security patches there. But in case of hardware, in case of a router, in our case, people are not really concerned because if it works for them, it just works. There's nothing that ever is going to break. Now, a router manufacturer cannot terminate the usage of a particular router in whatsoever manner because it has not been updated, no matter how much time it takes. Plus, it becomes difficult. So even if you provide them a CD, they of course do not know where are you supposed to put the router CD to update the firmware that is residing on the router, or a printer, for example. If you're talking of upgrading the firmware of a printer, you do not know where to put that CD to upgrade your firmware. So that's why it becomes an easy target which is vulnerable for a very long time, even after a bug has been identified in the public and reported in the public. Right. Okay, so talking about some of the common router architecture, processors usually they would have an ARM processor, or a lot of times they also have system on chip processor. So they don't usually have the normal Intel x86 processors that you talk about, because these two are designed for two different purposes. So Intel x86 is designed for it's basically a CISC architecture versus the ARM processor, which is a RISC architecture. So again, there are references at the end which help you understand what is the difference between these things and why is it important to understand that. You also quite a number of times find MIPS or the microcontrollers like 8051. I'm not certain about the rest. I found them on a reference, so I've just put it in here. So yeah, you are free to go ahead and take a look at that again. The RAM that we talk about, in the traditional sense, again in the routers, you find DRAMs, SRAMs, ROMs. A lot of times there are ROMs, wherein you usually handle things. And again, memory map NOR flash is something that I'm not aware about. So yeah. As of the permanent storage, the routers usually store it on NAND flashes, which are again small chips which are erasable and rewritable. And you have SD cards also at times in different firmwares in different IoT devices. I've not seen an SD card being used in a router that at least I'm aware about. Let me know if you guys are aware about any of those. And at times hard drives are also used. Right? Okay, this is an interesting stuff. So although the firmware itself is capable enough on making the device itself functional, but at the same time, it may also have some flavor of an OS, may or may not have some flavor of an operating system residing on the device itself to handle more complex tasks. And it becomes a very vague line to differentiate actually between a firmware and a OS, because a lot of times the firmware gets into taking up tasks of an operating system itself. So a lot of times you might find a firmware if you are able to extract the firmware, and if you try reversing it or further decompressing it and unpacking it, you might find Linux variants over there, or other operating systems. I just came across Linux. As I said, I also am getting started with this, so I have not encountered any of those in the 5 or 7 different firmwares of router firmwares that I tried to analyze. All of those had either Linux or had no dedicated OS itself.
That's not my question. Who uses CNT? It was like deprecated from 2000.
I am not sure. That's what I said. I have just explored.
Okay, I thought it's just perspective of the router.
A lot of them, man.
Not aware.
I just figured out some of those firmwares, some of those router firmwares, and none of them had any of these. They had either Linux or some of them. No, yeah, just Linux or no operating system at all. All right. So thanks for that help. Okay. Okay. The most common bootloaders that usually is present on a router firmware is U-boot. So bootloaders will come across what is bootloader, and you might have heard about the Linux bootloaders like Linboot or Lilo or grub, or in case of Windows, you might have heard about Windows Manager, right, or Bootex for OS X, things like those. Yeah, so those are the different bootloaders. Now, what exactly is a bootloader? Bootloader is just a program that helps loading the operating system into the main memory, and this bootloader program itself resides in the master boot record, which is actually actually literally the physical sector zero of your storage device, right? So that's where your master boot record is, and that's where your bootloader gets kicks in from, and it loads the operating system into the menu, right? So again, the rest of these bootloaders of the different that I analyzed in the past 2 3 days, I didn't find any of these. I found U-boot in most of them. So it is apparently the most popular one and the most widely used one, right? Most of these routers I found they actually had BusyBox on them, which was used to explore the operating system itself if it is present over there. And most of these firmwares also provide their own shell, so you can actually log into the shell directly while the router is in action. You need not really extract the firmware per se from out of the box and then have it installed on your system and then try to explore it. You can actually directly plug into it and explore it from in action itself. But again, that's not what I would be covering today. We'll simply extract a certain. We won't even really extract the firmware. We'll get a firmware from somewhere. We'll try analyzing it. Maybe extraction and everything we can cover in the next talk. So yeah, again, so these are the different other developer tools or developer libraries that were mentioned about in the different references that I was going through. But I could find only BusyBox, as I said, in the 5 7 whatever. How much time do I have now? Huh?
30 minutes.
30 minutes more.
Why don't we start with the demo and come back?
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. But
Slides can be viewed later. Demo.
okay.
Demo is also or I will.
Okay, let me just. Okay, then this is not really needed. This is. I'll just give a very quick thing. So when you actually go through a firmware, you might find the firmware in different formats. You might find it as a plain binary. You might find it as an ELF binary. You might find it as an archive. So just know that because the one we will be dealing with in our demo, it is basically just an ELF binary that will be going across. Right? Okay, and out of this again, one important thing is the squash FS. So these are the different. So a lot of times you might or you may or may not have a file system on your firmware itself, right? So what I figured out in most of these cases was either a squash FS or it was okay. I don't know. It is not mentioned here. I don't know. So yeah, squash FS is one of the file systems which was mostly present in most of the firmware that I was analyzing. So we'll come across what is a squash FS file system. So you must have heard about FAT32 or NTFS in case of Windows, right? Or AC234 in case of Linux. So Squash FS is a multi-platform, multi-supported file system which is also supported by a lot of Linux distributions. So that is what is usually found on a
If
firmware.
you have ever booted into a live CD,
Yeah, that also uses yeah. So I got to know that very recently. I did not know about that, but yes, a lot of live CDs, most of the live CDs actually use Squash FS as their underlying file system. So okay. Yeah. So there are we're moving into the demo now. So the first problem that comes at hand is if you have a firmware on a ROM, how are you going to extract it? And if you attended the last session, Bharat was trying to explain about the UART port and how you can plug into it using some cables and get it out from there. That is one way of doing it. There are automated tools that can help you do that, but we will try to keep it mostly manual today for the sake of understanding. And you may not, as I said again earlier, that you may not really need to extract it. You can directly interface with it while it is in action, and you can log into its shell if one is available, and you can play around with that. Today, what we'll be focusing on is we'll get a certain router firmware from one of the router's websites. We'll download it, and we'll try to find out three different. We'll try to unpack it and see what if it has a boot loader, if it has a OS, and if it has a file system. Again, we will not reverse the bootloader or not reverse the OS or not try to find bugs in there. We'll focus on just the file system and we'll try to see, explore the file system itself. That is what we'll be doing today. So, yeah, I already talked about this, right? Let's go. okay, these are the references, so we can come back to